All right, Jordan. Jordan, where are you from originally?
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Tell me about your family.
So I was born to my father, who is in the military or was in the military. He was actually an F-16 mechanic. So, like Top Gun, when I watched Top Gun, I was thinking about him because he's like, I grew up hanging out in hangars. It's like F-16 fighter jets. And then my mother, my biological mother, she's hard of hearing, so she's half deaf, half hearing. Um, they divorced when I was 3 years old, and I have memories of them fighting. Their relationship was tumultuous because there was a lot of financial struggles. My dad was enlisted in the military, and so we weren't making a lot of money. We were actually living in like my grandpa's garage or something. And then when my earliest memories of them fighting and like screaming and like bad fights. And it's very vague memories because I was very young, but they divorced when I was 3, and then when they got divorced, um, it was just my dad, and I was in daycare a lot of time in daycare alone. Um, yeah, I was a pretty defiant child. I just didn't want to listen to anyone. I wanted to do my own thing. I think I didn't trust anyone. I used to have this reoccurring dream of me being eaten by wolves, like which was like, I don't know. I've talked about it a lot in therapy.
Are you an only child?
No, I had an older brother um, at that time of my life. He actually passed away 2 years ago from an overdose, which is really sad. We were all really sad. But then, so when my dad was with my mother, when they were 3, they got divorced. And then my dad remarried my stepmother when I was 8. And we were living in Albuquerque, New Mexico. There's a neighborhood called the War Zone, which is kind of like the Compton of Albuquerque. It was like, my dad, it was just him and me and my brother, older brother, and we struggled. I remember lots of like butter and pasta and garlic salt. Like we were just really poor basically. And we lived in the war zone. And then when my dad married my stepmother when we were 8 years old, we went, and my dad had like 3 jobs. I remember one year, I guess he saved his money for a year to take my brother and I to Disneyland here and to Universal Studios before he married my stepmom. But when he married my stepmom, we went in Albuquerque, there's a neighborhood called Tanawan, which is like a gated community. It would be like the Bel Air of Albuquerque. We went from the like war zone to Bel Air, and we had like security guards and like a maid, and when I was 8. So having that awareness of like knowing I was really poor, and then now this is this. I was very aware of my socioeconomic status at a young age. So I was really insecure about where we lived, and I never wanted to bring friends home to when my dad married my stepmother. I never brought people over. I was always afraid to make friends. I felt really uncomfortable about about not having things and then having things.
What kind of kid were you in high school?
In high school, in the beginning of my high school, so before high school and middle school, I was a dancer, right? When my dad married my stepmother, she was like, "Oh, something's wrong with this kid," because I would like clung to her, and they took me to psychiatrists and they put me on like a cocktail of medications. Like when I was 8, they put me on like Adderall. The psychiatrist put me on all these meds because I was having ADHD problems, and I was doing dance. So I started dancing and doing ballet. When my dad married my stepmother, she took me to a show and I loved it. And she went and talked to the person in the sound booth after, and she asked them, "My son really liked this show. how can he get involved? And she happened to be the director of the ballet company. And so why I bring this up before high school is because before high school, I was doing dance, I was doing music, I was in piano lessons, I was doing all this creative stuff. My brother was a football player. And then I had a stepsister, I forgot to mention, when my dad married my stepmom, and she was a cheerleader and I was a dancer. But what happened was in middle school, I started getting bullied by the guys, really. All my friends were girls. I always felt like a girl in a guy's body. I never really felt like a guy. All my friends were girls, but I was bullied by all the guys. They would all call me faggot, and I didn't know what that meant. And then when I went to high school, I stopped doing all the dance, all this stuff. I was trying to be cool. So in high school, that's when I started partying like a lot and drinking on the weekends. Because in middle school is when I started smoking weed and drinking with my friend on the weekend. And in high school, I drank every weekend. Sometimes I was supposed to go to like this really nice middle school and high school, but I got a really bad teacher recommendation because I was really defiant. I would fight with my teachers. I was always dancing in class and the teachers didn't like it. And so yeah, I got sent to the principal's office a lot. And then they sent me to I actually had to go to a Catholic school for 1 year, freshman year of college. I went to 5 high schools. Freshman year of high school, they asked me to leave because I got in trouble at the Catholic school. I ended up going to a military school for 1 semester, and then I ended at this Christian school. But I was the type of person that was friends with like everyone. Wasn't a part of one group. I was friends with a bunch of people, but I never considered myself a cool kid. I was kind of like weird and like, I don't know. I wasn't very popular. I didn't get invited to a lot of places. I had a small group of friends. I kind of kept to myself and I was really scared. And I would get bullied by the jocks. And I was always attracted to them. I wanted to hook up with them, but I didn't. And one guy my best friend made me do football for 1 semester. And I remember the wide receiver, I had a big crush on him. And I'm the type of person when I have a crush on someone, I'm not like, damn, you're hot. Oh my God, look at you. I'm not very vocal. I'm kind of shy. So I would just get really shy and quiet around him and like get really nervous. And I think energetically he could tell, and it made him really uncomfortable. And one day after a game, he just came up to me and started beating me up. Like, I just said hi, and that was a traumatic experience I had to work through. It made me really scared of guys that I was attracted to. So I started hooking up with guys when I was in high school, and it was guys on the internet, older guys, they were 20 years older than me. And I told them I was 18, but there's no way anyone believed me. I did not look 18 at all. And I don't know, I liked the attention, and yeah. But I was always afraid to hook up with or have sex with guys that I was actually attracted to, because I was afraid that I wasn't good enough, or that I was ugly or too feminine, or something was wrong with me because of being beat up by that football player. But high school was just me partying and living. I was not out of the closet. I was living a double sex life. I was not out yet, so I had a girlfriend who was my best friend, and then I was hooking up with guys on the internet all of high school. I lived a double life. Everyone publicly knew I was gay because I was very feminine and I was every girl's best friend, but I wasn't comfortable with it, and I was living this double sex life, pretty much just hooking up with guys on the internet. All the guys, until 8 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, the youngest guy I'd ever been with was 32, and I was 14. I was always with guys that were way older than me. I was too afraid of my peers, to be intimate with them sexually, or vulnerably.
What did you do after high school?
Okay, after high school, I fortunately got to go to University of Hawaii for 1 year in Honolulu. My parents, they have this program that makes it affordable. Like you can pay in-state tuition plus half if you're on the western side of the United States. So I went to University of Hawaii, Rainbow Warriors, which was the perfect mascot for me because I actually came out of the closet freshman year of college when I was 18 in Hawaii. I did my first photo shoot out there, and I had I had a creepy moment with this photographer in Hawaii. Basically, we did a photo shoot on the beach, and then he like just started, after the shoot, he like basically tried to get me to hook up with him. And I just ran. Like I ran away from him and just ran. I actually didn't get the photos till like 2 years later. I had to like threaten him with a lawsuit to like get the pictures. They were cute pics, but like that was me. I had a lot of weird situations with photographers because I was trying to be a model. Like when I was 8, I've always wanted to be a pop star. I saw the Britney videos and I wanted to do that. I saw Madonna and I wanted to do that. I saw Michael Jackson, I wanted to do that. So that's why I was doing music and piano and dance. And in high school, I wrote my first song. Then when I was in Hawaii, freshman year of college, was when Lady Gaga became famous. It was 2009. And when I saw her performing, I was like, I can do that. I can sing, I can play the piano, I can dance, so I started writing this show freshman year of college I called it Atlas. And I was trying to like compete with her because it was Lady Gaga's Monsters and Atlas's Aliens. And I started drawing all these crazy costumes. I changed all my social media names to Atlas. Everyone thought I had gone crazy. And I got off my medication freshman year of college, and because I was out of my parents' like grasp, and I was like, I'm gonna be off my meds, and I just got crazy freshman year of college. Hawaii is like the 80s. It's just like a giant party. I was blacking out all over the city. I was dating drug dealers. Like I was on every drug, cocaine. I did a lot of cocaine, a lot of drugs. I was just really crazy, partying all over Hawaii, blacking out, waking up in rooms with strangers. Like it was really crazy, and it's amazing that I got through that period of my life. But I started the one good thing about freshman year of college is I started dancing again, because high school I had stopped. I always say that my drug addiction and my partying in high school, it took precedence over my heart and soul and my passion and my music and my dancing. Because as soon as I stopped dancing and singing is when I started really doing a lot of drugs and partying. And freshman year of college, I was still partying, but I started doing dance and music again. I started writing songs and drawing these costumes. And I actually dropped out of University of Hawaii and moved to LA right after that. But I also came out of the closet in Hawaii. I had a scare. I hooked up with this guy. Two things happened in Hawaii. I had this scare with this guy that I had hooked up with. I don't think we even really had like full-on sex, but a month later he emailed me to say, whatever it is you have, whatever you got, like you need to go get tested. And I was actually getting sick at the time. I was getting like a cold and I was coughing. And so I was like, oh my God, what do I have? So I started Googling the symptoms of like HIV, and I had all the symptoms. And it was back before they had the rapid test. So I had convinced myself I had HIV. That's when I came out of the closet on Facebook. I was like, I'm gay. Do you guys still love me? I like boys, or I like guys. And then I called my stepmom crying. I was like, I have HIV. I'm gonna die. Like, I was so dramatic. And they were so scared. She was like, I don't care if you're gay or straight. You can only have sex with the amount of fingers on your hand. And I was like, well, we're way past that. So anyway, so I thought I had HIV for 2 weeks. And then the results came in and it was negative. And basically it was bronchitis. So like, in a way it was a blessing because I started really starting to reel myself in and being questioning, who am I? Like I would stare at myself in the mirror for hours and be like, who is this person? It was just, I was really, 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 really lost, but I didn't know it. And then I moved to LA right shortly after that to pursue my dreams to be an artist, superstar, pop star. But the other thing that happened in Hawaii that I didn't mention yet is I started doing sex work because my parents, I was too scared to ask my parents for more money for vocal lessons. And I was dating this guy who told me he knows how he could get me $200 extra, like, which wasn't a lot, but he was like, you just go hang out with this guy and he'll give you $200. And I just remember going to this guy's penthouse in Waikiki, and I got really drunk and he gave me $200. And then I didn't think, I actually did get some vocal lessons from that. So those were my first private vocal lessons, but I had been singing for a while. And then the next week he wanted to watch my boyfriend have sex with me, basically. And he basically, I don't know, I didn't like how my boyfriend was treating me. So I got up and like pushed him, and I was like, no, I don't want to be here. And I called my dad crying. But those are the two things that happened freshman year for me, was I started doing sex work and I came out of the closet.
How long were you doing sex work?
Up until 6 years ago when I got sober. I'm 6 years sober from drugs and alcohol. I actually got court ordered to go to 12-step programs 7 years ago because I got arrested in a blackout in West Hollywood. And I knew that if I didn't stop doing sex work, I wouldn't stay sober, because I would always get really high and drunk with my clients. And I was doing it, so when was that? So that was 2009 when I started, and I ended in 2016, so like 7 years. And I didn't know, the thing about sex work for me, it was really empowering. It made me feel like I was in control, that I was taking care of business. It gave me like the feeling of being an entrepreneur. You know, I would make appointments with my clients. I took it seriously. I wasn't the best sex worker. I think I could have charged a lot more. I was like way too cheap.
What were you charging?
Well, so towards the end I was doing massages. So I would charge like $150 for an hour massage. And then I would charge like per service on top of that, like $100 more for this, $50 more for this. But some of my friends, I had a community. I had friends, like all my friends were sex workers. And I had this boyfriend, he was like a coke dealer. I was like in that world. Like all my friends were dealers, prostitutes, gangsters. One of my exes was like Al Capone's grandson. It's like, but it's not like he was like some crazy gangster. He was like classy. Like he was very like romantic, and like he would get me like really nice cards, and like, anyway, he was crazy. But I feel bad. I was totally using that guy. It was an awful situation. Anyway, so I should have charged more, because some of my friends, they were making like $10,000 for the weekend to go to Japan with some of their clients. And one of my friends made $100,000 the first year of prostitution. I think I had a lot of insecurity, and I didn't know my value fully. And I didn't know how to ask for more. I didn't know I deserved for more. My parents, I told you when we moved from that hood to the nice neighborhood, my parents kind of made us believe we were still poor. Like I had to get a job when I was 14. My first job was at this amusement park, and they made me buy my own clothes. They made me like, my neighbors, like one of my neighbors started learning to drive in a Ferrari. Like that's the kind of neighborhood, like her dad was teaching her how to drive in a Ferrari. And my parents like gave me this old shitty like Toyota Camry. Like I thought, like mentally I was all fucked up. Financially, I didn't know I didn't understand my value and like my worth, and I just sold myself way too short. So I would make like $200 to $300 per client, but that was like for an hour's work. So it was really hard to stop sex work because I was addicted to the fast cash and like the thrill. I loved sex. Like sex is fun. And like there was a time before I got sober, that whole year before I got sober, I would not have sex for free. Like I wouldn't, like if I was going to hook up with someone, I would make them pay me. Like I was just savage. I was so broken.
Once you make that connection of
What's
sex
that?
and money, it's it's hard to separate them.
It was really hard to separate because it made me feel like I was in control. Like my experience was those 7 years is I had this thing called the single slut club. And when I wasn't dating someone or committed to someone, I could do whatever the fuck I want. And sex work included that because I would stop doing sex work when I had a crush on someone because I thought that they would take care of me. I thought that they would provide for me. I would stop everything when I had a crush on someone. And then when it would end, I would get all sad and heartbroken. And then I would just start doing sex work again. So for me, like, it was, when I was doing sex work, it felt like I was providing for myself. I was taking care of me. I was doing what I needed to do. And in a way I was. And so there's a part, I'm very grateful for the experience that I've had as a sex worker. Like, it's made me really strong. It's made me really smart. It's kind of like fucked me up though, because 90% of my clients were straight, which I don't really believe.
These guys that are married or?
They were married, they had children. I never asked questions, but I knew. Like I could see the wedding ring and I could see the pictures on their phones. And we would always meet in hotel rooms. It's actually hard, like, every time I'm in a hotel, I think about it. Like, I go into euphoric recall. I had a job at the Mondrian for 3 months, like, last year. And it was really hard. Every time I would just deliver ice to a guest at the hotel, I would go into euphoric recall.
What is euphoric recall?
Euphoric recall is when you feel like you're having this experience from the past. Because it was such a high for me.
So you're going up to deliver ice to room 1217.
And I would feel like I was going to go see a client
to have sex.
or about to hook up with someone. Because it was such a high for me. I would get so high because it's sex, it's money. Like, and then when I was working at the Mondrian, which is like not a super high paying job, that's the other thing is I went 6 years ago from like making $300 in 1 hour to making that in 2 weeks. So it was so fucking hard. Like these last 6 years have been so hard. It's been I've been on food stamps, EBT, Obama phone. Like,
how old are you now?
I'm 31.
31.
And I got sober when I was 25. And it's been really hard to dig myself out of this fucking hole that I've been in. And it's gotten in the way of my music career. I really believe if I put as much drive into sex work and to the drug use that I was doing, I feel like into my music career, I feel like I'd be like super famous by now. I'd be like a big time artist. And I've been able to get a lot more done since I've gotten sober. Like I've hosted a lot of shows. My shows before sobriety, when I was using, because I was always high. So it's like, they were always a hot mess. Like the lights would go out. Then my wigs were fucking ugly. And like, I just was such a mess. At least I was doing it though. You know, I think it's good that because there's a learning curve when you're starting any new business. And I was high when I was doing it. I really wish, if I could go back in time, I really wish I never started doing all the drugs and the prostitution. I really wish I knew my own value and put as much effort into my hustle as in the music industry, because now I struggle with finding my value and my worth as an artist, and I'm trying to put my mind towards my music and career, but part of me still believes that all I have to offer is my sexuality, my body, and it's hard for me to figure out how to market myself because of my voice or because of this or because of that. It's gotten in the way. And there's a lot of very attractive people in the entertainment industry. So like that whole thing about me being scared of guys that I'm attracted to, not everything's about sex. Some of these guys that I should talk to, it's about business, it's about music, it's about collaborating. But it's because of my trauma as a sex worker, everything sort of becomes about sex. And it's gotten in the way of me networking in the music industry. But I'm getting, every day I get better. I talk about things that I'm going through. I have a big support network of people in recovery and out of recovery that I'm honest with. I've learned how to ask for help. Like I ask people for advice now. That's a huge thing. I didn't trust anyone before I got sober. So I was always afraid to ask anyone for help. So I just kept digging myself deeper and deeper into this hole. And I was in like $60,000 worth of debt because I had 2 repossessed cars. And I was homeless for 6 months living in my car, because I was trying to make an album and I was putting all my money into the album. It was a hard time between 2009 and 2016 when I got sober. I was living on people's couches. See, I was making so much money as a sex worker, but I could not afford to pay rent.
Because you were spending it on drugs?
I was spending it on drugs. I was spending it on clothes. I don't know, it's weird. I don't know where that money goes. I don't know where, even just try to...
Even though the female sex workers I've interviewed, they're all next to broke. They're surviving day by day, even though they're making $1,000 a day.
Yeah, I am to this day baffled because I made so much money, but I never had a place to live. I was still starving myself. I'm not someone that eats a lot anyway.
And you didn't have a pimp.
Yeah, and I didn't have a pimp. I did it all by myself. I would just...
But you still found a way to burn through all the money.
Yeah. It's weird. It's bad. It's like this...
How much money a day
empty.
On average?
Well, towards the end, I was seeing 4 to 5 guys a day, when I was in New York.
So it's well over 1,000.
Yeah. And I don't know where that money went. It's so weird to me. It's so weird to me because I didn't have rent to pay. I don't know where that money went. I really don't. It's baffling to me. I feel whoa, it's dysphoric trying to think about where it went. Probably on clothing.
It's fast money.
And shoes and I don't know.
It comes fast, it goes fast.
Yeah, alcohol, food. But yeah, I tried to have some normal jobs in that time. And now these last 6 years, because of my experience, I've learned from sober recovering sex workers that there's a thing called post-prostitution syndrome. It's a thing. And we all have some similar situations, and it's obvious. It's like diva problems because we don't know how to, I had to have someone simply explain to me, you need to get 8 hours of sleep every night. You need to eat every 4 hours, eat something. And then I had to have people explain to me how to live, healthily. And I still struggle with it sometimes.
But what are the post-prostitution
It's things problems with authority figures, and then a lot of the sex euphoric recall with guys making everything sexual, insecurity when it comes to dating guys and being with people, that, and I don't know, there's a whole list. If you Google it, it's all on Google. But I also have learned in recovery that I think a large part of my sex work and fear of my value comes from my mother being deaf and hard of hearing. Because when I was little, I'd be crying for my needs and my mom wouldn't hear me right away. So I would be in the crib for 30 minutes before she came to me and brought me, but she still didn't really understand me. So I have a lot of things that I've worked through in therapy and EMDR. And then I've done the 12 steps like several times, and my life just keeps getting better every day. And I'm actually really grateful for any opportunity to tell my story. Because there were times like when I was newly sober where like it was so hard. It was like so hard to get just through another day. And the only thing that I had sometimes was my story. That was the only thing I had of value, to go to a 12-step meeting and tell my story and connect with other people and other guys and girls and tell my story, because they would relate to me and I would relate to them. And there's something really empowering about hearing my story in another person. And it's helped me heal. Like hearing other people's stories and sharing my story has been the biggest part of my healing process. So I encourage anyone that's struggling, like anywhere, to find someone to talk to, and just someone that'll listen without judgment, whether it be at a 12-step meeting or somewhere, and just tell your story, like, or here at Soft White Underbelly.
Are you happier now that you're walking a straighter path?
It's hard because I'm not using drugs and alcohol, and I'm trying not to use sex even, to numb myself of the pain or when I'm in fear. I'm about to go on this 3-month adventure in Europe, and I'm so fucking scared. I have so much fear. I feel like I'm walking in the dark because I've never been to Europe. I'm going by myself. I don't have a lot of money saved.
But doing things that scare you a little bit.
Yeah, and before, like, drugs and alcohol would give me that liquid courage. I was the life of the party. I was the person dancing on the tables. I was the person talking to everyone, like flirting with anyone I thought was cute. Everyone thought I was fearless, but it was just because I was high as fuck. And my goal in recovery, so it's hard. Like the moments where I'm peaceful and serene in recovery are amazing. It's blissful. It's better than anything drugs or alcohol could provide for me, because it's peaceful, it's real. But the moments that are hard, when I'm scared and in fear, like right now, or like when I used to use, the first time I had an audition, I got high on liquid codeine, and it helped me get through my nerves of the audition. And I aced that audition and got into that show. Now when I'm nervous or scared, I can't take codeine. I can, I have the choice to, but I choose not to. So I have to rely on other tools that aren't as quick of a fix. Like talking to someone, I pray a lot. Meditation really helps me, journaling, but it's not something that like just taking a sip of codeine or alcohol or taking a hit or a line is gonna do instantaneously. Sometimes prayer has that effect on me, and meditation, where it does it really fast, but it's a lot harder. When I'm in pain, I really, really feel things now. Before recovery, I numbed out all my feelings.
That's what I think is really at the root of a lot of the stories you see on my channel, is people are dealing with emotionally uncomfortable situations, and the alcohol, the drugs, the pot, the whatever will help them deal. But what happens is you get so used to using those substances that you end up addicted to them, and then your life unravels.
I agree with you 100%. Like the other night, my friend and I were looking through my Facebook.
And it keeps you from maturing.
Videos. What's that?
And it also keeps you from maturing, because part of maturing is being able to deal with emotionally difficult situations.
My growth was stunted. I feel like a child in an adult's body. That's how I feel. Like emotionally, I'm getting better every day. I'm way more mature now than I was 7 years ago. But there's things that I didn't learn in high school and middle school because I was too busy trying to party. And I was fighting with my parents a lot. And so I didn't learn a lot of the things that I needed to learn. And yeah, you're very intuitive about that. I really agree with you about...
it's not intuition, it's 6,000 interviews.
Yeah, you have proof, you have the evidence.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, I think I was heartbroken as a child and so scared because of my parents' divorce when they were 3. It's just intrinsic human nature, behavior to be territorial. We're pack creatures. My mother and father divorced, I was mean to all my dad's girlfriends and all my mother's boyfriends. I was so mean to them. It's because I'm a kid, I'm territorial. It's human nature to keep my caretakers together so I can survive. So I was terrified, I was heartbroken, the guys, being gay, being bullied, I was just bottled up and I didn't know to talk about anything. I was arrested towards the end of my drinking because I was an angry drunk towards the end of my drinking. I would get in fights with people. I would argue with people. I would make fun of people. Like, I got in a fight at Fiesta Cantina in West Hollywood with the security guards because they were like kicking me out. I was in my underwear. It was Halloween and I was a stripper sim. So all I was wearing was like this thong and like a sim hat. And I got arrested in that outfit. So on my cards, all it said was items worn was like a Speedo. And I refused to tell them my name. So it said like John Doe. Anyway, so I was so broken and sad and lost and just stuck in this little ball. And I didn't know how to feel everything. So now that I'm sober, I've had to go through all these steps in therapy to just get out everything that I've been through as a child and talk about it and share about it and relate to people. And I feel all those emotions, all this unprocessed grief. I'm like, it's all coming out of me like a volcano. And it's all out, but I still feel it sometimes. And now now I really, really feel things. So when I'm sad, I really feel sad. When I'm angry, I really feel angry. When I'm happy, I really feel happy. But before recovery, it was all convoluted. It was all blurred together, like all my emotions. And I didn't understand where they were coming from. And it's gotten a lot better. I'm not as reactive. My anger got worse when I got sober. And I would get really mad at people when I was
because
mad.
you didn't know how to deal with your emotions.
I didn't know how to deal with it. I wasn't numbing myself of all the pain anymore. So it's been a hard journey. It's not easy, but life isn't easy. And the things still happen. Like my brother died 2 years ago. I'm still struggling financially. I'm still trying to get my shit together as a musician, as an artist. But I'm not resetting every day with drugs and alcohol. Instead, I'm like praying, I'm meditating. I'm talking to people, I'm asking for advice. I trust people now, so I'm reaching out to people, asking for help. Before I was trying to do everything on my own. And it takes a village to make it. All the big superstars artists, they have huge teams around them. What does that tell you? These people know how to work with other people. So I know that I need to learn how to work with other people. Doing prostitution was a solo journey for me. I didn't even have a pimp. I was doing everything on my own. And then I was applying that to my music career. I was being my manager and my marketer. I was doing everything on my own. It was a one-man show and it wasn't going anywhere. So I'm still learning day by day how to open myself up, how to bring people into my life. And it's a struggle. I haven't really dated anyone since I've gotten sober. I've hooked up with a few people here and there, but I'm still healing. I'm still getting my shit together, but doing stuff like this, I really hope sharing my story helps someone else, and I hope that it helps you, and I'm really grateful that you're letting me tell my story on your channel.
Beautifully. It was a great story. Thank you very much, Jordan.
Thank you.
Wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you.
Have fun in Europe.
Yes.